So we're now talking about soldering. A soldering station consists of one or more soldering irons. This is called the business end. It's about 1,000 degrees hot. How do you check if it is hot? You lick it. No?
Don't lick it.
Don't lick it. Your teacher says don't lick it. Okay, don't lick it, but you can cup your hand over it and you feel the radiation and all this, so you know it is hot. Soldering iron. You need a wet sponge to clean the tip of your soldering iron. You don't want to do this because all that does, it cools down the tip and it doesn't take the dirt off. You want to wipe it off. You need flux. In this case it's blue. Flux does two things. Flux is cleans the copper from all kinds of dirt, fingerprints, dust, oxidation, kid slime, anything that is on there, so that the solder will actually adhere to it, and it does the same thing as soap does for water. It breaks the surface tension, so the solder will actually flow. Otherwise it will just blob up, and I can show you both ways, with and without flux. So, and of course you need solder. Solder comes in pound rolls, and it is you can get different solders of different materials, different mixtures. There is lead-free solder, there is solder that has 50% tin and 50% lead, or 64 and 36, and all kinds of different solders. You can also get pure lead, but that is really not anything you can easily work with in windows, except for old-fashioned church windows. Then you use lead came, which is a extruded profile, and you just put the glass in and putty it, and that's it. So in our case we will have a jig. It will be a rhombus, not a square like this, but to demonstrate this is good enough. But let's start out. I have a piece of glass here, and I will show you that solder will not stick to glass. So this is really quite hot. Tools. Here. So, comes right off. It will not stick to glass. It will not stick to wood. It may just burn it a little bit. But should you get it on copper with or without foil, you should not try to slip it off like just from glass, because now it makes some connection to the foil, and you can see that it tears off the foil. Can you see that there? Mm-hmm. So in this case you need to melt it off. And now comes, oh yeah, that was also a demonstration of without flux. If I want to melt it off, I add a little flux and melt it off. But here I have two pieces of glass, and I will show how that works without foil, without flux, I mean. You see that it is very ugly and very meh. There is nothing good about it, and it is also pretty loose. The nice thing is I can add flux afterwards. and remelt it. And you can see the difference, right? This is now smooth, it flows. So this is the second effect of flux. It makes the thing flow. And in my case, it also, I melted it slow enough so that it actually went through the crack and filled the whole crack. So that is with flux. Now to the work we are doing. We make these rhombuses out of frame pieces, and there you have the frame, and you put the frame pieces in, and they should, ideally they should match, but they don't always because they are cut by a human, in this case by me. So there might be gaps, and you don't push them inward to fill the gap like this, because then this wouldn't fit to the next piece. There are 60 of these rhombuses that we are making. They all need to have the same size. And if we push everything in, they won't have the same size, so we need to push them out. And there might be gaps like this, and that is okay. What we need to do now is we need to hold it. And you can see how I do that with 2 fingers far away from where I'm going to solder. I put a bit of flux on there. And I take a little bit of solder after cleaning the soldering iron. And I melt it in. And that's already enough, actually, just to spot solder it, to fix it. And now I can do the other 4 pieces, but always pushing out against the fence. And now I can go around and finish solder it. Now I have 2 hands because all the pieces are fixed. They cannot move anymore. And I can fill the gap with solder. I want to make sure that I don't heat the whole thing because then it moves again. There. And that is a fairly good looking seam from this side. It's not done yet because the back side is still quite ugly. You see that the solder came through, but it is not looking good. What I can or need to do now is put again a bit of flux on and moving quite quickly because I don't want to melt the whole thing. Go over it again and make it look really good. So that is now finished. And we do that around 4 times. The important thing is to press the glass, the pieces against the outside of the fence. Not in to close the gaps, but out disregarding the gaps. The gaps can and will be filled with solder, as you can see here. So this is a good looking corner. It will fit with the other pieces if we do them all the same size. If not, it won't fit.